minute, beau papillon. Être laide, c'est ça la mort. Tant que je suis belle, je suis vivante et 10 fois plus que les autres.
After the Second World War, the French film industry found itself in disarray. America had the most control over which French films would be produced, so production companies avoided making movies that would fail by sticking to classic Hollywood models of storytelling. This obsession with convention was not taken lightly by young French filmmakers who wanted to create meaningful stories, and thus emerged the French New Wave. Claude Chabrol, Jacques Doniol Vaucrose, Jacques Rivière, Francois Truffaut, and Jean-Luc Godard were peers who became the vanguard for the cinematic art movement, as they were united in their critique of the French film industry's marriage to tradition. One of the earlier French films which demonstrate this transition from Hollywood-style films to films with more art emphasis is the 1958 film Elevator to the Gallows.
Très contente.
This new embrace of film as art emerged as a strong theme among the teachers of the directors of the French New Wave, particularly André Bazin, who founded Le Cahier du Cinéma, a film critique magazine that embraced foreign cinema which opposed the traditions of popular cinema that the French studios clung to.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Et toi, Anne-Marie?
Moi, c'est facile à comprendre.
This paradox of needing funding from production studios, but not wanting to conform to the rigid models of storytelling that these studios greenlit, forced filmmakers to create alternative modes of shooting, such as using creative camera techniques to symbolize the grandeur of a more expensive film, using amateur actors, and improvisation.
Tes parents disent que tu mens tout le temps.
Bah, je mens de temps en temps, quoi. Des fois, je leur dirais des choses qui seraient la vérité, ils ne me croiraient pas, alors je préfère dire des mensonges.
After being expelled from Cannes, one critic, Truffaut, went on to create a film that would bring the French New Wave to center stage in world cinema, The 400 Blows. The movie marked the power of the artistic expression of the goals of the French New Wave. These goals, although assumed by audiences and critics, were not as apparent to the directors themselves during the genesis of the movement. Initially, most New Wave directors agreed that there was no New Wave. Despite this, there were common tendencies among the artistic French directors of the time, including the use of anti-heroes and honest depictions of class and love. Later in the movement, directors were divided between the right and left bank, leaving artistic directors such as Truffaut and Godard to the right, and political directors such as Varda and Chris Marker to the left. Despite his reluctance to confirm his role in the New Wave formation, Godard's 1959 film Breathless is said to have been the pinnacle of the French New Wave style, and as Jean-Pierre Melville put it best, no New Wave style existed. If it were to exist, it would be purely and simply the style of Godard. In the later half of the French New Wave, the refreshing nature of the experimental style slowly turned into cliches, moving away from what had initially allured viewers. Truffaut cemented this truth in one Cahiers 1962 issue, when he claimed that audiences had become too obsessed with demanding newness. Following their success in the New Wave, many directors sought to make higher-budget traditional films, adhering back to the formulaic approach to cinema that they had initially attempted to steer away from. Truffaut was a champion of this idea of the auteur, as were most New Wave directors.
Oui, la politique des auteurs, c'était l'idée que les films n'étaient pas des... Que bien sûr, les films se font en équipe, mais que où quelqu'un a quelque chose à dire, où quelqu'un a des idées sur la vie et sur le cinéma et sur le monde. Et alors tout ce qu'il fait est intéressant, même si un tel film est un peu moins bien que celui d'avant. Ou bien c'est quelqu'un qui fait son travail de façon anonyme et ce n'est pas intéressant. C'était ça la politique des auteurs. C'était né d'une phrase de Giraudoux qui disait « Il n'y a pas de pièce de théâtre, il n'y a que des auteurs ». Giraudoux voulait dire « Il y a le bloc Claudel, le bloc Giraudoux, le bloc Molière, le reste des pièces. Une pièce réussie par hasard n'a pas d'intérêt ». C'était ça l'idée. Bon, et d'autre part, cette politique des auteurs avait un sens dans la critique française. Elle était, pour le cinéma français, elle était Elle disait au fond que n'importe quel film de Cocteau ou de Robert Bresson était plus intéressant, même si éventuellement le film n'était pas réussi, que n'importe quel film de Jean Delannoy ou de metteurs en scène qui travaillaient en adaptant des chefs-d'œuvre, mais de façon anonyme.
Chabrol argued that films with less spectacle are just as capable of sending the same message as films with larger production, an important ideal that captured the attention of new artists. Regardless of its return to tradition, the French New Wave gave hope to the following generations of aspiring directors who aimed to tell truthful stories but lacked support from studios. They set the message that one can make a good film that seeks to say something about the human condition with or without a big budget.